okay. Are you going to wear headphones?
How do you, Emma Smith?
Yeah.
You want Emma Smith, and then we just say this is your Instagram. Because I have been calling you on the podcast.
Welsh Emma LDN.
Welsh Emma LDN.
And then you're like, I don't know if that's where she's from or that's what she's called.
I thought you were Welsh, but you live in London. Is that?
That is true.
Is that why you're called that?
Yes, okay. Because someone else has taken Welsh Emma. That's why.
Got it.
So I had to add the LDN.
LDN, but that's told
also,
me.
Also, I want the Welsh people to know I've abandoned them, and I'm never going back.
I think if you just called yourself Welsh Emma, I wouldn't have asked you on the show because I'd have assumed you were in Wales.
Well, there we go.
So it was the LDN that made me go, oh, I would have just said do it on Zoom. Okay. All right. I am going to read out the opening titles because I feel like everything we say is going to be such gold. I don't want us chatting first and then doing the titles.
Agreed.
Because
we don't want to...
obviously you can edit it in, but it's nice to officially
start. We don't want to shoot our load too early, Debs.
Exactly. As Harry no doubt once said. The Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist Watchers, and just like that, the Sex and the City Reheal, with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Emma Smith, otherwise known as Welsh Emma LDN on Instagram. You've heard me talking about her. This is Season 3, Episode 10, Better Than Sex. And that's not just the name of the episode, that's a literal description of this podcast. Now, Welsh Emma LDN, otherwise known as Emma Smith, I will just call you Emma, but I do think of you as Welsh Emma LDN. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here on what I could probably go on Mastermind now with this as my specialist subject at this point.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, this is why I've asked you on. Like, normally it's friends of mine who are comedians or, some way or another, actors who I know love Sex and the City and love to just wonder at the glory that is and just like that. But I was so taken with your commentary on Instagram about And Just Like That. And you pointed out things that I hadn't noticed. And people say I notice a lot. So I was like, wow, I've got to get... and in fact, you contacted me. You said, oh my God, I heard a shout out to myself on your podcast. I thought, well, she's listening to my podcast. I'm watching her content. We've got to get together in the same room. So this was a great thing.
Here we are. I sent you a beggy DM, didn't I? Slid into your DMs, Debs.
You did say it wasn't a beggy one though. You were just saying, wow, I got a shout out on the Guilty Feminist. And I was like, oh my God, that's so lovely. You're a Guilty Feminist listener.
Huge
and
fan.
I was like, this is great. And you were like, oh wow, I've listened to the Guilty Feminist for a long time. Couldn't believe I got a shout out. And we both said, well, this is just clearly some kind of Sex and the City kismet. And you need to come on the show because you do have, Emma, some amazing insights and you are also very funny. So I'm excited about today.
Thank you so much. I mean, I don't know if we need to start off with the fact, are we going to start off with the fact that it's now been cancelled?
I think we need to.
I think we need to address that
a little bit, like 4 seconds of silence. That's enough. We have to say, how did you feel? Because obviously, let's be honest, you have been rightly ripping the piss. And I started this podcast season 1, the rewatch, obviously not the Guilty Feminist, but I just thought, come on, it's family and it's some nice light relief in a horrorscape of a world. So I just thought I'll do this, and people started really liking it, writing in emails the way that they do about, sometimes some quite serious topics that we have on the Guilty Feminist, but saying, oh my God, I'm loving this, or I don't actually watch the show anymore, but I find out what's happening through your podcast and I'm really loving it. It's really good fun and it's really just a nice relief from, often a lot of what's on our timelines at the moment. And so we started out by saying, look, Sex and the City's family, we're allowed to criticise family. So we were fictionally talking about, but it has become more and more ridiculous. The commentary around it has become more and more risible and parodic all the time. And so how can you tell me your relationship to Sex and the City? And just like that, when did you start covering it on your Instagram channel? Tell us about you.
Okay, so a bit about my background. I'm actually a television producer and a journalist. So I am a storyteller, and I do some comedy now as well. So I, like you always said at the start of this podcast, felt that we sort of had the more of a kind of voice, a right to sort of critique this. Mm-hmm. I am at the age where I watched Sex and the City when it came out.
Yes.
Whilst I was smoking a fag in my, in my living room. I wasn't watching it.
Were you a Carrie?
No, I was definitely a Samantha, like 100%. Anyone that knows me would tell you I was definitely a Samantha. With a touch of Carrie, because I always loved writing and was sort of being a journalist.
I was going to say you're a journalist.
Yeah, but I just definitely had the spirit of Samantha and will always. And I think that is one of the most incredible shows that ever existed. And I think one of the key differences that we've got now is that whilst Sex and the City was so zeitgeisty because it would sort of predict trends and cultural and social trends that were happening.
Or create them.
Exactly, Deborah. But now what we've got with And Just Like That is a sort of a kind of trying to reflect them, but just in such a bad way and in such a sort of cringe way. You know, we had the kind of, you know, the sort of woke thing. I'm doing it like this because it's sort of people that usually use that word are kind of reform voters, but you know, them just trying to shoehorn in lots of things that are happening culturally now in this very sort of embarrassing way. So that's one of the key differences that we've got. And
trying to do it in a way that I'm like, it doesn't seem like you're just seamlessly integrating more inclusive attitudes about the world, which we need and have happened in understand in the intervening years, the world's changed and you need to reflect that in your new show. But instead of just having those characters now understanding those things, season 1 was all like, can I touch your hair? And I'm like, Miranda has been a woman who has lived in New York since her 20s.
I know.
And we have seen her have a black boyfriend, a black neighbor, why would she suddenly not understand about that? Also, these movements happened while the show was off the air. If Miranda was going to crassly say something, which I think, to be fair, a lot of white people felt that in 2020, she would have had that era in 2020. And now this would just be a normal thing for her. So why they didn't sort of seamlessly thread in those things and just have her being a human rights lawyer now, if that's what they wanted to do, or have her having her own law firm with some high profile black colleagues who have their own sex lives and stuff like that, so that they could integrate that in. I don't know why they went into educational mode, because that's not what the show's about. It was such a strange thing to do.
Trying so hard as well, and also trying to, you know, we know there were some issues with the original series. You know, the inclusivity wasn't there, and it only sort of came towards the end in the later series. But it is absolutely my Roman Empire that I do not understand. If the Roman Empire were still doing that, I don't know.
Yeah, we know what that shorthand means now.
You know, is that the same people responsible for Sex and the City, arguably one of the best shows ever made, are making. I get so many comments on my Instagram and my TikTok saying, who are these writers? Like, they're obviously not, you know, they're not women in their 50s. I'm like, they are women in their 50s. And these writers are the same writers that wrote the original. How can that be?
Surely not. Surely, were they staff writers on the first one?
There was 3 writers on the writing team.
Wow.
Who were all women in their 50s. And as
who were on the original one?
Who were on the original?
Stop it.
Yeah,
I thought it was a brand new. I thought it was.
I'll get the names for you.
Wow. I believe you. I thought it was Michael Patrick King being somebody who now the room said yes to him too quickly, because they're like, he made Sex and the City. He must know. That's what I thought it was. Yeah. That really shocks me.
And what really shocks me, Deborah, and I say this as a woman who's just turned 50, I say just, it was actually 6 months ago, but I'm still getting to terms with it, is that the representation of older women. You know, why are we representing older women in this joyless way? Why aren't we seeing older women having, you know, sex and fun and joy and shagging younger men and just doing, you know, going out to incredible restaurants and having amazing holidays with all the money they've got? Why is it so miserable? And like, you know, it's all about kind of illness and kind of kids and, you know, it's sort of...
There's been a lot of grieving and a lot of
cancer.
Yeah, a lot of children. And listen, we need shows about those things. It's just not why we tune into Sex and the City.
100%.
And when they did do those things in the OG series, it was like Miranda's mother dying. It was handled so beautifully and thematically, and it never felt cack-handed. Or when, you know, Samantha got breast cancer, it was handled with class and style. And yes, we look back now and go, oh my God, there was some clunky things that we would see as extremely elitist or you know, unpleasant. But at the time, they also did things that were very forward-looking and very bold and very brave, because progress is not it's not simple. So they did some very progressive things in their time, and it's easy to look back and see what they got wrong. It's not easy to look back and see what was quite groundbreaking at the time. You know, the way that they dealt with something like abortion, or this sort of mainstreaming of gayness, the mainstreaming of they were the first people to really identify slut shaming. They didn't use that phrase, but they changed what they. Samantha's character, when she was what we would now call slut shamed by her friends, she would say, "Don't do that to me, because I have every right
she shoved the UPS guy,
to
didn't
find
she?
sexual pleasure." And the classic line, which is, "As long as I can kneel and blow." I don't kneel and breathe. I will give blowjobs to whomever I like, as long as I can kneel and breathe, and I won't be judged by you. She said to her best friend, and her best friend, Carrie, said, "You're right. I judged you, and that wasn't fair. You never judged me when I had an affair. And why am I judging you for having casual sex that's not hurting anybody?" And that was a big thing. It was a kind of gate opening in our minds, or even just normalizing women talking about sex at brunch and going, "Oh, this is my experience. What's your experience?" Because I think we were in our silos thinking, "I don't want to talk about what my desires are. I feel embarrassed that I've got this urge," or "This man treated me badly, but I feel embarrassed to tell my friend about it," or "What is she going to think? He's right. You've just got to suck it up." Or is she going to say, "Well, you're stupid for saying with him," or whatever it is. The fact that they normalized women being incredibly open about their sex lives, their romance lives, their love lives, their desires, their fears, I think did so much good.
Yeah, I agree. And just to go back to the point that you said earlier, Deborah, the reason they could handle heavy topics like Samantha's breast cancer was because the show balanced sort of the sort of pathos and the humour. You know, that they could do the serious subjects and we could take those because it had so much heart, and so, you know, we knew the characters inside out. The stories were told so well, and it was hilarious.
Yes.
Which is obviously completely lacking. I think I've actually laughed out loud maybe 3 times in the entire series.
Yes, I know.
And that's generous.
I know what you mean. Yes. And one of those times I was thinking of something else. And another time I was thinking about a joke I was going to do on this show. Yeah. So that's the overall.
Yeah.
When did you start making content about it on Instagram?
So I was doing it on TikTok first for the last series, but I think, you know, maybe 4 people and their cat were watching. So this time I started doing the recap and reviews again on Instagram and TikTok, and it's just, they've just been really popular because I think people really resonate. And I've sort of built this club of hate watchers, and it's like a really nice community of people who have so much affection for that old show.
Yes.
And it's not just
otherwise
women.
We wouldn't be staying with it if we didn't have an affection. We just don't want those
100%.
characters to have a life without us. Like, I want to know what they're doing, but I'm like, why is it wild? So how did you feel when you heard the news that it's ending?
Well, obviously big drama that happened yesterday. I actually, I mean, I think we've all got Stockholm syndrome here, Deborah.
Oh, there's no question.
No
my
question.
friend wrote to me and said, "Oh my God, you know that I've been laughing about it with you," but she said, "I feel kind of bereft." And I said, "It's the kindest thing to do."
It is.
Put it out of its misery.
It is.
But I know, like he said, that's the end of the Sex and the City world. And so that's the end of Carrie Bradshaw. We'll never see her again. He's basically said that. And I think she's gone, "Come on now, Michael, we got to." I reckon they've decided together, like, this isn't working anymore and we're slightly ruining the legacy.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it won't come back when they're in their 60s. I wonder if there'll probably be a movie or whatever we have then.
You know, and just like that is a messy bitch, isn't it, Deborah? Let's be honest.
Who loves the drama.
It's a messy bitch who loves the drama. It's like the messy bitch that you've set up a separate WhatsApp group about and you're all talking about, and you like, she probably needs an intervention. Well, the intervention's happened, but now we all feel, as you said, slightly bereft. I mean, I've really enjoyed making the content and connecting with people. And, you know, I do feel, to go back to what we were saying earlier, we've sort of, as a TV producer and yourself as a storyteller and a producer, you know how difficult it is to get good things made.
Oh, yes.
It's really hard. I've sat in rooms where I've presented great ideas and it's like, well, it's not this and it's not that and we can't fund this and it's really hard to get good stuff made.
Yes.
Yet they have made 3 series of shambolic trash that it doesn't even follow basic principles of storytelling.
Basic principles.
I have heard someone pissed up on the 55 bus telling a better story than them, 100%. Deborah. You know?
It's just what I can't understand is Michael Patrick King ran a show that had such a good sense of story in Sex and the City. And not everyone will have liked all of the stories, but he had a really, really good sense of the story. Now, the movies were story. Like, I've gone back to watch, because I thought maybe the movie, because I remember the movie came out, the first movie, and we went, oh, this isn't our show, this isn't as good. I rewatched it. It's still a story. It may not be a story I want to see,
agree.
but it's but I mean, I didn't force myself to go back and watch the second movie because it's
so bad.
Sort of a hate crime. I mean, it's so bad. It's so culturally
inappropriate,
insensitive, and horrible. But there were stories. They had a beginning, a middle, and an end. Everyone had an arc that made sense. Not necessarily an arc I wanted to see. I didn't think it was the best story that could have been told, but it had the principles of a story, which is our hero starts here and ends here, and they feel differently about something and they're changed because of it. So, all of that, it's just, I just don't understand how the same person can have forgotten what a story is. That's what it's fundamentally fascinating to me.
And we both listen to the Writers' Room podcast, which for any of the listeners who haven't, it is a fascinating insight into this insanity, because they sit around and they justify all their bad decisions. And if I hear them say one more time, oh, this thing happened to me, I'm thinking, oh my God, that doesn't mean it's right for this story. They're jamming it packed full of things that have happened to them. And then they're falling about hysterical at their terrible jokes.
But back in the day, the whole thing with the Sex and the City writers' room is it had to happen. Everything had to have happened to either you or somebody you knew personally. It couldn't be a friend of a friend of a friend. So if your friend told you about it, then you could use it. The reason they did that is they didn't want it to be Melrose Place, which I think is what Michael Patrick King had done before then. He wanted it to be, this is what real women are living in New York City right now. This has got to be real. So if we think of a really funny thing that could happen with a vibrator, but it's not real, or we think of some continuing saga melodrama that could happen with a man, but it's not real. It's too Melrose Place, it's too Beverly Hills 90210 or whatever. He didn't want that. He wanted it to be, we shoot it in New York. It's what real women are going through now. So I kind of loved that ethos about it. But they were very clever about purposing the things that had happened to them and their friends in a way that revealed something about the character or moved the character on in some way.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, I got given an energy cleanse. It'd be really funny for somebody to have an energy cleanse. And it's like, but what are we learning about Charlotte? Why are we seeing this? Anyway, I should do the recap, but just briefly, are you feeling relieved that you don't have to do this anymore? Or are you thinking, not that we have to, we're not being forced, as you say, it's Stockholm Syndrome, or are you feeling a bit sad because you're like, the madness is going to end?
I feel
We're
a bit.
off the merry-go-round.
I feel a bit sad, actually. I was pretty sure there was going to be another season, but I can't quite put my finger on why I want something that is so unbelievably bad to continue. I have enjoyed doing the content and having this connection with the community, but I'm just going to find something else to hate watch. I'm not quite sure when the next Emily in Paris is on, but I'll go for that.
I never love the term hate watch because I think if I really hated it, I wouldn't be watching it. I feel like it's an absurdity watch, this show. It's like,
it's a good one.
I'm like looking at it going, this is so absurd, I cannot look away. And also I still have an affection for the characters and I just need to know what happens to them. They were such a part of my formative life that I kind of need to know. So yes, there's a piece of me that's sad. There's a piece of me that's happy they're not going to ruin the legacy any further. But I kind of wanted them to turn it around.
Yeah. Some people in my comments have got this new thing that they're all saying now, which I absolutely loved. I was like, I have to say this on the podcast. They've all told me they're hope watching.
Yes, that's nice.
I knew you'd like that, Deborah.
Nice.
I knew you'd like that. They're all hope watching.
The Guilty Feminist is all about hope. It's not about hate. So we hope watch.
We hope watch.
We hope watch. That's brilliant, Emma.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving that
I knew
to
you'd like
us.
that.
This is the Hope Watch podcast. But the new slogan for this podcast is, but we're still watching, so we're part of the problem. Okay, so that's how we sign off now. We coined it last week with Grace Petrie. Okay, So this is my recap for this week. In this week's episode, Better Than Sex, Carrie allows Duncan into her closet where he talks to one of her shoes like he's on the phone, but the shoe is both the phone and the person on the other end. And we learn for the first time that her shoes call Carrie Mummy. Meanwhile, Brady has knocked up a 2 or 3 night stand, not sure, by not wearing a condom when drunk, and Steve chews up the scenery, while Miranda doesn't realise that turning up to the baby mama's hair salon incognito and asking, as if she's a random customer, if the woman should take a paternity test will cause trouble, even though Miranda is in her actual 50s. Charlotte tries to have a psychic energy cleanse Zoom in a tap-dancing, football-watching construction factory. Furthermore, and this woman whose whole livelihood is positive energy and calm auras is as rude as someone in a parking fine call centre and says the classic line, "You can forget people are people on Zoom." No, you can't. You can forget people are people on social media when you're writing comments, not on Zoom. The point of Zoom is you see faces and hear voices, and it's like being with them. What the actual fuck, woo lady? And Sema goes to Adam Karma Gardens, the gardener's apartment, and discovers he lives in a rent-controlled palace, haunted by the ghost of his dead mother in the form of a little shop of horror-style plant, which she then accidentally kills when she knocks it out the window while smoking. Don't worry, he resurrects it and brings a cutting of the dead mother into her office in a crossover of Alan Titchmarsh and Psycho that none of us knew we wanted because we didn't want it. And Anthony spends the night at Giuseppe's and discovers that he has never ever mentioned that he lives with a creepy old man, Geppetto-style roommate, who makes a marionette puppet of Giuseppe that turns out to be a wanking voodoo doll. Some people at home now who don't watch the show are just going, "You're taking the piss now, Deborah. You're making it up. I'm not making it up. I'm not making it up. If you don't believe me, watch yourself." And after 400 episodes of Herbert trying to become comptroller in one of the greatest moments of bathos in television history, he loses, and it's literally over in the blink of an eye, like a lift door opens and closes. And it's done. And yet again, we ask ourselves, why are we watching this? Also, their kid loses their hamster and the mother-in-law is vile. And Carrie decides she wants to keep her relationship with Duncan about being writers. She wants to keep it literary, not sexual, because he's the first man who's ever really seen her as smart and not just sexy and cute. Good decision, Carrie. Good decision. Good decision. And just like that, she fucks him anyway, because fuck it! And that is this week's episode in a nutshell.
Like, the reason I'm howling at that, Deborah, is obviously you've written it really well and like the writers on this show. But the other reason I'm howling is because if you went into a room, we've all been in rooms where we've pitched and you pitched that, they'd be like,
get out of my
office.
office.
Has Deborah got early onset Alzheimer's?
They would say, get out of my office.
They were like, is Deborah on ketamine? Like, right now.
I have to pitch all the time because I do scripted stuff. I have to pitch all the time. If I pitched that in the run-through pitch and said, right, we've got to pitch this to the network.
Yeah.
They would just say, get out of my office. They wouldn't even say, they'd just go, please stop wasting our time. I mean, you can't even believe it. And every week that I sum it up, it gets madder and madder until you just go, this is absolutely mind-blowingly wild.
Batshit. It's batshit.
The wanking voodoo puppet.
Oh, stop it. The thing is, I think, again, that could have landed on Sex and the City. You know,
could have.
Maybe. You've listened to the Writers' Room podcast. You know why that was in there, Deborah?
I think I missed that part. I did listen to it, but why? Remind me. Because
Michael Patrick King, commonly known as MPK, used to be known as Daddy MPK, but we've removed the daddy bit now. He doesn't really deserve that. No. Daddy MPK is obsessed with puppets.
Oh.
So he wanted it in there, and he said it's the most expensive prop they've ever had on the show.
He said it cost more than any of the actors.
It cost more than the actors. Imagine you're SJP and you know there's a puppet with a massive panini that costs more than you. You'd be furious. And he was obsessed, and it took 6 months to make. That is maybe gives us a little bit of insight into his brain.
Where it's gone into
like a fixation.
It's gone into a narcissistic spiral of 100%. Because I wanted, I can see it.
Yeah.
So let's just go into Carrie and Duncan. I've got a confession. I really liked this opening scene. I found it kind of cute and sexy. And I thought, oh my God, this is kind of old Sex and the City. He makes an excuse to come upstairs. He goes into a closet. I mean, it was talking to the phone, on the phone, to the shoe, on the shoe, was obviously batshit crazy, but it felt a little bit like flirty, naughty overtones of the old Sex and the City, where she was really getting a vibe with a guy. You know, she was just, do you remember when she used to go, oh, I've got the Zaza or I've got the feels, I've got the, oh, I really like him and I can't remember what he looks like, and that's what happens. And she had that little spark with someone, and there were these little flirts, you know, do you remember the man from Alcoholics Anonymous on the street, and she'd have a little, you know, a little zing with somebody. And I thought, she's having a zing with him, and we've waited for ages to get Aidan out of the picture so we can enjoy this. And I confess to you, I enjoyed the opening scene. Don't judge me. I will enjoy this scene as long as I can kneel and blow. Don't judge me.
Do you mean the opening scene when he was reading her work, or when he came up to her closet?
I can't remember the reading her. Oh, what was the reading her work bit? Oh, the purple prose. All of it. All of it.
But
I enjoyed.
When he was so impressed by the repetition of the line.
Okay, that you have to look away from some things to enjoy it. Because the prose. Why haven't they hired a fiction writer to write this historical fiction?
Well, they can't even hire proper writers to write the whole thing, Deborah. So, do you know what I mean?
No, but it's such a specific skill. This is unbelievably poor, and the fact that she said it 3 times. That line. What is it? The woman.
Well, I've got
she had done all she
had done all she can. She had done all, and he said, "Oh my!" Repeating that last sentence, you know, he was just blown away by like the fact that this very serious sort of curmudgeon-y biography writer is blown away by her. What are we calling it? Romantic historical fiction, clit lit or whatever. You know, it just the fact that he's blown away by this. The character doesn't even have a name, the woman.
The woman, I know, but I think that is meant to be. I've argued with every single person that's come on the show every single week that is meant to be a literary trope, and no one will have it. But I'm sure that it is meant to be a literary trope. People are like, just give her a name. So if we could put aside for just 1 second that he would not actually be impressed by that novel, which was also what has always made me think he really fancies her, because when you fancy someone, you can find things that are good in their writing.
Yeah.
Did you find any spark or sex appeal between them?
No, I didn't. And also what I feel we needed was more episodes of that. What I really wanted was a build up.
Yeah.
You know, what you want is by the time your 2 characters come together, you want the audience to be like on the edge of their seat waiting for this sort of explosion to happen. So, you know, they sort of had a love triangle, and then they sort of removed Aidan out of the picture.
Yes.
And now she just moves straight to him. So there's no, you know, you could have had that back and forth and that tension and flirting with him while she was still with Aidan, but like resisting because she really loves Aidan and she didn't want to cheat on him. Like that's so obvious, right?
Yes.
For me, that would have been such an obvious way to play it.
Yes.
And now Aidan's gone because it hasn't worked out. She can be with Duncan, you know, but like, you know, just putting obstacles in the way. Again, basic storytelling.
Yeah. So
you wanted her to want him, but she couldn't have him.
Here's a pitch. Finally, she breaks it off with Aidan, and they've done the time passing thing. We know that because the writers' room told us, and they had winter coats on. But I didn't really notice. I remember thinking,
didn't notice the fake autumn leaves.
I did remember thinking, oh, it's got cold, but I didn't realise that was so. Now, what happens in this show is he invites her to a party, goes to meet her publisher, and the publisher is his ex-wife. A really simple thing to do is Aidan's just gone and she's just recovering, ready enough to, you know, look at Duncan in a different way and allow it in. And his publisher ex-wife comes to stay because they're clearly still good friends and she's still a publisher. So now he's like, my wife's staying down here. And even him going up there, having sex on top of his ex-wife, you know, 2 floors up, would feel wrong. Like, where are you going? Oh, you're staying overnight with the woman upstairs. So that would have been a great, sexy obstacle. You know what Alfred Hitchcock said? He said, there's no suspense like delayed coition. So he was the master of suspense, and he directed all those incredible thrillers where you're thinking, oh my God, she's coming down the corridor, oh my God, you know, Psycho, that kind of thing. And he said the biggest suspense for any audience is delayed coition. So if there's an episode where there's a reason now, there's always something in the way, by the time they do it, it's kind of fireworks. Exactly. But I did honestly find him coming into her wardrobe, him playing around with her shoes, I was like, oh, maybe I'm just starved for old Sex and the City flirtation. maybe I was just too thirsty and I took whatever I could get, Emma. I feel like I need to apologise, but I was like, oh my God, finally Aidan's gone. I was desperate for Aidan to go.
We all were.
And here she's having this little thing with this new man. And if we take the terrible prose out of the way, they have got things in common. It's the first time, you know, Big would never even tell her what he did, really. Just be like, work, you know?
I think my issue with Duncan was how rude he was at the start. I think if we'd have seen this flirty side of Duncan from the get-go, I could have accepted the kind of playful guy in the wardrobe with the shoes if he'd been flirting and kind of trying it from the get-go, but she'd been resisting. But he was so rude to her. Remember the first scene, he just hammered on the door, didn't even say who he was, and started complaining about her shoes.
That's true.
And I thought they were getting into some kind of sub-dom relationship. I was like, is this what, are we getting kinky?
We have been dying for a baby girl. We've been dying for a baby girl, and they're not going to give it to us now.
I know Alison said it. Alison said it on here.
Since Alison's brought it up, it's all I can think about, and there's only 2 episodes left, so we're never going to get it.
This show is so sterile, you know. There's no way they're doing a kink storyline. We can but hope.
It's not. We're not going to get it. And meanwhile, Brady has knocked up a 2 or 3 night stand. He doesn't know how many times he's hooked up with her, which I find a little bit implausible, but okay. He is going to chef school, but he has knocked up a girl, and this is sort of meant to be resonant of the fact that Steve and Miranda, when they weren't together on a hookup, accidentally got pregnant with Brady. And although they were not together, this is not an Easter egg. They're literally outwardly discussing it. Decided to keep him, and then they got back together. And is this history repeating itself? How did you feel about this storyline?
You know what? I mean, a lot of people have said they thought Steve was overacting from Steve. I actually thought, I mean, they made some choices in past series, didn't they, with Steve? But I actually thought he played this quite well. I did understand why he got so sort of furious, because it was sort of a bit like history repeating itself.
And also, he's 20 and hasn't got any qualifications yet. Steve already had his own bar, I think, when they...
But the internet's already done the maths, Deborah. Apparently, you'd be more like 24, 25 if you go by the timeline. Of course, they don't take any notice of
is that right?
Basic concepts like
he's
time
too young
and space.
Okay.
No, so apparently he would be actually in his mid-20s. But I guess this
that
suits the narrative more. I didn't have so much of an issue with that scene. What followed with Miranda's, comedy capers in inverted commas to the Brooklyn hair salon was more. He didn't even know her second name. Brady didn't even know her second name. So quite how Miranda's tracked her down and figured out where she works, not as a stylist who's even named in the salon, just as a hair washer. But she's managed to find her.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose if they're very, very young, that would be right. But it seemed like an odd thing for a woman in her 50s to do. You know by now, because you've done stuff like this before, that stalking someone on the internet and then going to check them out, and then if you're going to have any relationship with them, if you do want to be grandmother to this child, you can't start it like that and expect it to ever have any trust. So, the only thing you can do is say, Brady, I need to meet her because this is my grandchild and I want a relationship with my grandchild. And I don't think you could be a deadbeat dad. I'm not having that. So we're going to have a family meeting where we would really like to meet her, unless she's absolutely adamant no, because we can help support her. We can help financially support the baby. We want a relationship with the baby. And I think most young women would want some kind of support. We can babysit. We can offer help. We can pay for her medical expenses, which we know are expensive in America. And I don't know that many young women, given she's perfectly friendly with Brady, who would go, no way, I'm not having anything to do with you. There'd be no reason for it. They haven't fallen out. So that's how you would do it. And Miranda is a lawyer. She knows you don't do that kind of thing. She knows that even if Brady said, I'm not, that she would say, well, I'm going to write her a letter and I'm going to go into the salon and ask if I could meet her for a cup of tea. She wouldn't say, as a sane and sensible 50-something-year-old woman, and Miranda's always been the sensible one. She's not the one that does that kind of stuff. She's not.
Yeah. But they call it the doofisification. I can't even say it. The doofisification. Oh, God.
Doofisification. Yeah, like making a doofus out of someone.
Basically turned her into a doofus. That's a very American word. But, which is what they've done with quite a few of these characters. But, have you seen the trailer for episode 11?
I haven't. Is it going to be
Well,
spoilers?
Deborah, she invites this woman to Thanksgiving.
Oh God. Okay, well, I look forward to that.
What's really interesting about this is they're now creating new storylines,
And they've got 2 episodes left.
which leads me.
But they've done nothing with any pastoral plot all season.
No, because
Why
I
not
want to
plant-
come back to what's happened to Hot Editor.
Why not start with this so Miranda has a season arc of, trying to make a go of things with her very glamorous new girlfriend while becoming a grandmother.
Yes, exactly. That would be great.
Because it's like, I'm hiding something from you. I'm going to become a grandmother. How do you feel about dating a grandmother? I'm not ready for this. I'm in my 50s. How has this happened to me?
Yeah.
Why has he done this so young? All of that. That's interesting because that's a part of, for many women, being in their 50s and I'm not ready to be a grandmother. And also, I'm now going to have to support this young woman financially and blah, 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 blah. But then you can actually have, if you want, because the pregnancy's far along, the birth of the baby, and we see one of the Sex and the City gang become a grandmother.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I'd be in for that. Like, wow, young Miranda, who we saw sporting around town, never wanted kids, is the youngest granny of the crew before Charlotte, who would love that. It's just such a strange decision 2 episodes from the end to go, by the way, Brady's knocked up. Anyway, that's the end of the show,
You know why I think that's happened?
Because they're going to do it in the last episode.
No. I think what's happened
cancelled.
here is they got cancelled. This is my favourite current conspiracy theory on the internet. And it is being pushed by the OG girlies, the Every Outfit girlies, and it is all over Reddit. And it makes sense because Michael Patrick King announced this as a decision between him and SJP.
Yeah.
However, what they are doing is still setting up new storylines, which implies they think they had a season 4. So, because we all know there's been some brilliant 2-season narrative arcs, like, Comptroller. We were gripped by that, Deborah, right? Two seasons.
I could not sleep for thinking about whether Herbert would be
tossing and turning in Camden. It's like, what is going on?
But the payoff has been divine. It's really been worth it because we've got to see Lisa as a sort of first lady of controlling New York. None of us know what a comptroller is. I think we need to be absolutely honest. In Britain, if you're listening in America, and some people do, in Britain, we don't know what a comptroller is, and none of us have wanted to look it up because of how little we care. Yeah. But we get the idea. It's some kind of official who runs local council stuff in New York, we think. Thank God that storyline's paid off, and we've seen Lisa now weighed down with the responsibilities of being the comptroller first lady. We've had a payoff for what happens to Herbert when the power goes to his head. We've seen Herbert have to step aside from it because he realises he hasn't got enough time for his kids. Oh no, hold on. He's just lost. He's now got to deal with losing, but in a blink of an eye, and we've now got 2 episodes to go.
And
I don't think they'll ever mention it again.
Shoehorn an Ozempic weight loss storyline, which kind of started and then just abruptly didn't go anywhere.
Why does a comptroller need to be thin? I don't
What
understand.
on earth has that got to do with taking public office? It's like such a bizarre thing to sort of shoehorn in. And then, of course, LTW's 2-season narrative arc of this documentary, which you and I know nothing is in an edit for 8 years. It just, doesn't happen. So
it's so bizarre.
So they love to carry these storylines over into, consecutive seasons. So I think this backs up my theory that they got cancelled. They did not choose to end this show themselves.
Yes, I think so. That makes sense. Because also, it's such an easy cash spinner for all of them. I'm slightly surprised they've not given them they don't really have these in America, but the equivalent of a Christmas special. In this country, if they think, look, we don't want to give you a whole other series, but we understand you want to wrap up the plot lines, they say, why don't you have a Christmas special? And then that's normally like The Office Christmas special. I think The Office, to be fair, they would have obviously had a 3rd season because it was so huge here. But they said, look, we don't want to do that, but we'll do a Christmas special and we'll wrap up all the storylines. I kind of wish they let them, if they're not ready to quit, do an hour and a half, like a telly movie that let them just sort of wrap up everyone's storyline and give Carrie one last say about something. Apart from anything else, it'd be really fun to watch, to hope watch it. To absurdity watch it.
What's really interesting as well is Kristen Davis' Instagram, very heartbroken. So she reposted the statement from Michael Patrick King and underneath said how heartbroken she was and devastated, kind of, that sort of language, which strikes me as not the kind of reaction if you knew and you'd all agreed that this had come to its natural end again. So so that also sort of backs up that theory. She of course has got her own podcast as well, Are You a Charlotte?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I have listened to some of that. It's fascinating.
You need Tom producing that. It needs the firm hand of a producer.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a stream of consciousness, but
yeah.
I enjoyed her talking to SJP because they see things very differently.
Yeah.
That was really, really interesting, and it was really felt like an insider thing. But yeah, it's definitely one for the fans.
Big Speeches is back. Hello, guilty feminists. It's Jessica Regan here. Delighted to tell you that our online communication workshop, Big Speeches, is back with a bang for the end of the summer. Okay, so if you would like to participate in our workshop, which has helped hundreds of guilty feminists already, please do book for one of the following dates. We're hosting the workshops at the end of August, the 30th and 31st, Saturday and Sunday, and those workshops are at 10:30 a.m. At the end of September, we're hosting workshops the 28th and the 27th, so Saturday and Sunday again, and those workshops are at 3 p.m. So hopefully there's a bit of flexibility with time zones and routines, etc. We want to help anyone who wants to participate in this workshop make it happen. We have a subsidised rate and we have also lowered our prices for the standard rate. So please do get online, places are limited and we really want to accommodate you. Looking forward to seeing you there.
So Charlotte tries to have a psychic energy cleanse Zoom in a tap dancing football watching construction factory. Now, when we heard the Writers' Room podcast, what we realised was somebody had been given one of these and they thought, well, what does that... If someone gives you a present of a psychic energy cleanse, you think, what do you think about my energy? And she said, I was so offended that someone would give me this. But then I had it and it was funny and blah, 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 whatever. That immediately has more story to it. What happened to the real person, the writer, has more story to it than I won it in a silent auction because Charlotte says, because I've done it recently. I've bid on things in silent auctions to get the bidding going, so it looks like this is desirable, and just because everyone's got less money now, it's just you just want to start the ball rolling because someone thinks, oh well, if they've bid for it, I want to get it and I'll bid £10 more, and then you get it escalating like on eBay. That is immediately less of a story than Charlotte being given it and going, what do you think Lisa means by giving me an aura cleanse? Like, is my aura dirty? No, it's probably just because you've had a hard time. I just feel like if somebody's saying something about my energy, like immediately you go into that with a different energy. She's like, you do need your energy cleansed. Yes, I do, because my energy is now affected. You can see Charlotte by somebody criticizing my energy. Like, I have always kept a clean house. My clothes are pristine. My children, you could eat off them. And here I am with the cleanest energy in New York, and then, starting to cry and then going, letting it all burst out, and the dam bursts, and it's my husband got cancer and I was so scared and blah, 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 blah. And then she realizes Lisa's given her this because she realizes actually Lisa was right. Like that kind of thing where she's like, and Lisa isn't even into this kind of thing. Like, Lisa's the last person I would expect to give it. Something like that, I think would work. Just gives a little bit of story to it, as opposed to, I didn't want this. I bid $40 to get the ball rolling. No one bid more. At that point, if it was bad and the woman came on with a bad negative energy, wouldn't you just go, oh, look, it's not a good time. Don't worry about it. Just keep, the woman didn't even get the money. The money's gone to the charity. What do you want it for? Why are you going through with this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. As I said, their insistence on putting these stories that don't even fit. But like you said, there's a way to then tell those stories. Like the way, just off the top of your head there, you're coming up with a more nuanced, layered story that would make that then fit.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, I've always said that I'm just like that. That game that you play where somebody draws a head and then you fold it over, and then someone draws a torso and you fold it over, and so on and so forth. That's what I'm just like that is like.
It's the game where I'll write a sentence and fold it over, and then you have to continue the story.
It's like, should we never meet Deborah, but let's write a TV series together, and then we'll just chuck our lines.
Mad Libs. It's the television equivalent of Mad Libs. It's fill in your blanks.
Exactly.
But also suddenly her house, and this is we've talked about this a lot on the podcast before, but the way that it's confected, and it's obvious that the only reason that Rock is tap dancing as because she's suddenly got a part in Thoroughly Modern Millie, is to annoy Charlotte. And it's like, and also I'm changing the wallpaper. And also Harry's watching the loudest football in the world. And it's so affected. It's so constructed. It's so hard to buy into. And I'm like, also, they've got a huge place. And Charlotte has no basic respect from her family, from her children. If I was doing something like that, I would say to Tom, can you watch the TV with headphones? I'm not in the league of none of us are in the league of anywhere near the wealth of these people. He would just say, I'll put my headphones on. If you say to your teenage child, please don't tap dance outside the door, I've got a Zoom, and they don't go away and they keep doing it, you say, I just said, please go away and do that somewhere else. And if you can't tap dance now. Go over to his house. You can't do it. I'm saying no. She doesn't know how to say no to her children.
Yeah, I know. And then the resolution of that story was actually a resolution of another story that was set up that we've barely seen, which was Harry's cancer.
Yeah.
So we now find out Harry's cancer is done and dusted.
It is done and dusted, yeah. But we already knew that because the only continuing storylines are about deodorant. They're not about cancer.
But riddle me this, Deborah. When Adam, the gardener, told Sema this week that his mum died of breast cancer, I was suddenly like, here we go. That's why he's so funny about deodorant, because, I mean, we don't know,
yes.
but there are some, there is
Yes.
some
people don't want to use
some people
chemicals
think
and things
chemicals
like that.
can affect breast cancer. There's So I thought, here we go. This is going to actually make sense of the deodorant plotline to episode narrative arc.
I think that's,
no.
That's a hope watch too far, I think. You're hoping for far too much there. I'm so sorry to tell you. I don't understand why this energy clearing woman is so nasty. Yeah. If that's your livelihood, you would make no money. You wouldn't put your Zoom camera on. You haven't got any time left. You're meant to be. That's just not the. And then on the podcast they said, well, actually there was meant to be a longer story where she lived in Carrie's building or nearby, and she had this whole storyline because she's quite a famous actress, that actress. And then they didn't have time for it, so they just had her be. She had her own storyline, I think, explaining why she was like she was, but instead she was just a very absurd, implausible energy clearer who was very unpleasant.
So they cut out the bit that explained why she was so rude.
Yes.
Okay, sure.
But she was so rude, I'm sure she'll be sleeping with Carrie by the end of the season. And Sema goes to Adam Karma Gardens, because Adam Gardens, the gardener, was always called Adam Gardens. Am I wrong about that? I thought there was a joke about that in the beginning, isn't it? It was like a nominative determinism. But then he revealed he was called Adam Karma because his mother changed their surname. So now I call him Adam Karma Gardens, the gardener. And I always call him Adam Karma Gardens, the gardener now. He has the most incredible rent-controlled apartment. And I did look this up. This is real, this place. And it's sort of artist rent-controlled with amazing views in Greenwich Village. Lovely. His mother brought him up there because Greenwich Village was very different in those days, and they do have some rent-controlled apartments that in the final season of capitalism, which has jumped. The final season of capitalism is much more absurd than this show, to be absolutely strictly fair to Sex and the City. It has jumped the shark, and then the shark itself has jumped another shark. So it's presumably these days of rent-controlled will soon be over as everything gets slowly bulldozed to the ground for a billionaire's entertainment. Now, however, when he takes her up there, it's like a Little Shop of Horrors plant, isn't it? Explain what you felt about this.
What, the dead mama plant?
Yeah. It's a Little Shop of Horrors plant. It just grows and grows and grows in every direction. And it's also the spirit of his dead mother.
Yeah.
What?
So as soon as he told her about the dead mum plant, you knew what was going to happen to the dead mum plant. It's obvious what was going to happen to the dead mum plant.
She was going to burn it with a cigarette. She was going to knock it out a window. She was going to deliberately take a knife to it in the night. She was going to pour bleach on it. She was going to sit on it. She was going to try and have sex with him with the plant. Something absurd was going to happen.
I thought maybe she was going to burn it with a cigarette or something because he doesn't like her smoking. But the resolution of this story, whereas she's so horrified she's knocked the plant out the window, she ghosts him. Okay. And then he turns up at her office, but she's already in. But he's managed to turn up her office with about 15 cuttings of this plant and put them all over her office.
Without her seeing them yet.
Without her seeing them, which, I mean, as I said, if this is not the start of a Netflix true crime doc, Deborah, I don't know what is. You know,
they're both
so creepy.
The thing at this point is they're both the killer and the thriller. Because if you go to someone's house and knock the spirit of their dead mother in the form of an out-of-control plant out the window because she was smoking out the window, which he's cool with it, dude. Dude's cool with it. And then he goes fuck, and then they run downstairs and presumably try and save what they can or whatever. But if you just run away from the scene of that crime and then you ghost them because you're so mortified. You don't ghost them, because if they're calling you and saying, no, it's all right. I said it's all right. I said it's okay. You then say, I am so sorry. What can I do to make up for it? I'm going to take you away for a nice weekend. I feel so bad about what happened. So the ghoster, also the one going, I know how this is going to end, mummy issues. I know how this is going to end. The ghoster, the plant killer ghoster is the killer, but also the man who turns up with cuttings from the dead mother plant, plants them all over your office when you're not a plant person, and then reveals them to you, but they're already here. And she goes, but are they going to self-water? Because I don't do that. And he goes, no, that's what I'm for. So you're going to come into my office every day and water the plant, the ghost of your dead mother, which is now in about 27 different pots. Creepily, everywhere I look, there's a bit of your dead mum. Absolutely not to this.
No.
Which one of these is going to kill the other? This is my only question that I have for you.
But Deborah, can we just quickly do Sema's finances? Because this is one of the biggest question marks in this series for me. So just as a recap, Sema loses her partnership, but gets no money from walking away from that. Can't buy the guy out. Okay, fine, get that. But then apparently has no payoff and he's so poor.
Well, you pointed out on your Instagram, one of the things I was impressed with, that you went, no, hold on. She was a partner. He would have had to buy her out.
Yeah. So she would have a chunk of money.
And I was like, oh, yeah. And if she can't afford to buy him out, then it must be a really expensive partnership. And she could be a junior partner because her name wasn't on the door, but she never said that. She always said, I'm partners with him. So she would have got a huge chunk of change, but suddenly she doesn't have enough money to have her eyelashes done.
Well, her name was on the door because there was a random scene where she was trying to persuade the receptionist to come with her, a la, what's that Tom Cruise film? When he tries to get them to come with him.
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire styly. And it's in the back and it says Patel and whatever the other guy. Yes, yeah. I'll send you a screen grab.
Emma, you have got the best eyes.
So that happened. So they were partners. So I get, I'd say the firm is worth 3 million. She hasn't got 1.5 million, but he has, whatever. So she couldn't buy him out. But that would mean he would have to give her 1.5 million. Okay, so there's that. So then she's broke. She has to let go of the driver and she's going to, that whole eyelash place scene was so classist and gross and kind of borderline racist. But so she then has to scale down on everything, goes to the bank, can't get a loan. And then a couple of episodes later, she's managed to rent a downtown office because they're so cheap now post Panny D. And she's hired a PA. In this episode, there was another real estate agent in the background. And she's rehired the driver.
She's got staff and a driver, and it's all from her savings.
But all we know is she sold Miranda her flat. That's it. We've not seen anything else.
We needed a big win for her. So we needed her to go, I've been really looking after my savings because, she's a woman on her own. I absolutely get that. She wants to keep her savings in the bank. She doesn't want to be spending it on drivers if she doesn't know her future. We needed her to have one big win, one big sale. There was a big stake.
Yeah.
Some good fun plot where she thinks she's lost the sale, but the integrity she shows means she actually gets the sale or whatever it is. She walks out, something, blah, blah, blah. She gets the sale. And there's enough commission from that sale for the driver, for the office, for the assistant, for the blah, 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 so that we see it pay off, because there's no way selling that flat to Miranda. And also, it wasn't even like, Miranda saved my bacon. The commission from that sale has set me up. Even if it had been that, if it had been like, Carrie, you've done me a huge favour by letting me sell a flat to... But I just also think you've got clients. It's absurd. The whole thing is unbelievably absurd.
But why did she go to the bank if she had savings? She went to the bank to get an office. And also the bank people said no to her. Yeah. If you went to the bank and said, can I borrow, $250,000 off my savings of 100 grand, they'd say yes, because you've got assets. You've got assets in the bank.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. But this is, this is one thing, one aspect, but it's indicative of a fundamental problem with this.
That nobody pays attention to those details.
And quite frankly, it's insulting, Deborah, because they have underestimated the cray-cray level of the fans.
That is true.
They
have underestimated.
Jack shit past us, Debs. We know all the details. We see all the details. And it's quite frankly insulting.
Anthony spends the night. Let's go back to the Giuseppe puppet, the wanking voodoo doll. Well, we've not really covered it. Could have been out of the old Sex and the City in one way, but in another way, it was just it's like somebody's taken old Sex and the City, put it through AI and said, ramp it up, like twist it round. And it's like AI Sex and the City, but like make it horror. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you talking? And this is how Giuseppe's like, I don't want to rush this. Giuseppe's clearly devoted to Anthony. They're clearly going to be a couple forever. But Giuseppe's the more mature one of the two in many ways.
Yeah.
He's the more measured one. He keeps Anthony grounded. So he says, Anthony, I'd love to move in with you. Tony, I'd love to move in with you, but let's take it a bit slower. Let's not rush it. I don't want to ruin this. Walks out, sees his supposedly asexual puppeteer roommate wanking with a puppet, with a marionette puppet that he's made of him because I'm his muse. Walks back in and goes, I think I will move in with you after all. And I'm like, and that's the happy ending for Anthony. Somebody who doesn't really want to move in with him yet, but will because of being frightened to be killed by a puppeteer.
I mean, honestly, listen, I asked AI if it wrote this show, and AI told me it was insulted, Deborah.
I mean,
it was like,
AI was like,
it literally said, don't put this on me. I did a whole video about it.
Come here with your
Do
chat
not,
GPT.
An actual robot was insulted that I thought it had written this.
That is so
the
funny.
amount of people that think...
It didn't say that, did it?
No, that's what ChatGPT said to me. It was like,
Are you kidding?
No, ChatGPT.
Oh, I thought that was your joke.
No, that's not a joke. Like ChatGPT was like, I didn't do this. This like
ChatGPT denied all knowledge.
Yeah, it was like, I did not do this. It's like, I'm aware of the criticism. It's like this wasn't on me. This was maybe,
Well, methinks the ChatGPT doth protest too much.
Yeah, right.
I don't know anything about it. It was grotesque and absurd. And Comptroller. Anything to say about Comptroller?
Again, it's just like, so he's a side character that we don't care about. Herbert the husband, as I like to call him, is a side character. And again, they stretched this out over 2 seasons. And like you said earlier, if there was more implication to that, here's what I would have done. He's running for Comptroller, but he's got some dirt in his background, right?
Yeah, something comes out. That's good.
So it's something...
something he did before.
I'm going back
he was
to Kate,
with Lisa.
Deborah, but like, he's found in a basement, like, latex or something.
Yeah, but before, when he was really young, like some photos show up and you think, well, if you're Gen X, that's not going to happen
Or
he
used to be like a low-key weed dealer when he was younger or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or,
something at university,
he
did Class A's or something like that.
He did drugs or some sort of
He's some
sexual
kind
experience.
of Ivy League cheating or Class A's or some naughty thing that Ivy Leagues get. Do you know what? Sometimes people get done for what happens in a frat house.
Yes.
And he's very upper middle class frat house types. To the extent where, in a very grotesque way, and maybe what gives us a little window into why he lost this election, when they come back in super, super disappointed, his son says, I don't understand, because the polls were inside the margin of error. And somebody says, oh, well, apparently the working classes now really determine the vote.
Yeah.
And his mother says, well, I don't care about the working classes. And then his wife says, I'm going to order a big old pizza. I'll get the one we love with the goat's cheese on it. And I went, yeah.
It's the most middle-class pizza ever.
That's the poshest pizza I've ever heard of. And I'm like, you wonder why you don't play with the middle class. This is absolutely absurd. So I think they're quite posh. So I think if he'd done some posh crime at college, Gen Xers, we never think that our past is coming for us because we were all when we were young and feckless and reckless, we weren't on socials. And all the photos are like printed out at a chemist.
Yeah.
But if somebody doesn't like you and they've got a photo of you at uni, it's the whole Bill Clinton I did not inhale thing. That is a great plot line, because what if it's something, as you say, kind of kinky or something, and she's like, but you've never told me this. Or what if it's something, he's always said, to the kids, there's to be never any drugs in this house. I'm very, very anti-drugs, and they've brought up the kids a certain way, and their mother's very Christian and all of that. And then it comes out that he was doing Class A's at uni or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like some Ivy League frat house thing. And it can be a great thing as well, because you can say, look, let's try and make this more makes you relatable. I made my mistakes, and he has to give a speech in front of Lisa and the kids, and Lisa ends up being quite proud of him. But for a while, it makes her really doubt, who did I marry?
What else could have happened, Deborah, really simply, is that an affair that we were all waiting for with the hot snack of an editor could have just happened. It's all secret, and a journalist finds out she's having an affair, and that's the sort of thing that the New York Post would run.
Yes.
And it comes out that she's been so they're presenting themselves as this kind of like
perfect
wholesome
couple,
family.
and she ruins it for him.
She ruins it by having an affair with the hot editor. Perfect.
I think that actually, this is our mini writer's room now. I don't think she should have an affair. I think she should have a momentary, because it's not who that family is. It's a momentary lapse. She's had a big row with Herbert, who is something of a baby. Like, he constantly rings her up at work when she's in the editing suite with Marion going, I've lost this, or why is there, pasta in the fridge, or, some nonsense, or do you think anyone likes me? Am I cool? Like, he does it to her all the time. And she's a professional woman trying to get on with her life, and obviously manages the household as well. And if she just had a massive row with him, and then there was a moment, an indiscretion, like a kiss, not unfair, just a momentary indiscretion, but whoever's running up against Herbert is following her because it's got a sense if we could just get a moment, because she's currently working with the sexiest editor in the world, who's quite a famous editor, has worked on famous things. What we need is a celebrity clinch. There's someone following her. So she's telling Marion her woes about her husband in a bar. And there's a brush. There's a lean in. It could be a shoulder where they're leaning in, and she's just telling him everything, and she's crying or something like that. And that's the photo. Yeah. And then the tabloids don't give a fuck. The news of the world doesn't give a fuck. They just splash scandal, comptroller's wife, and then he's really angry with her and going, you're shagging that editor, I knew you were going to do that. And she's like, I'm not, I was crying to him about you. It was a moment. And because you've been treating me badly. That is a fucking Sex and the City drama that plays into the sex, that plays into the city, but also tests their marriage and makes him pull out of the race and go, do you know what? I don't want this. I'm not pulling out because you did anything wrong, because you didn't do anything wrong. And I'm going to make a speech to the effect that this is our media and this is the way it is. Could even be someone put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have to be a journalist anymore. It can be someone putting on Instagram, and then everyone goes off on one. That's a good storyline.
But that's it, Deborah. Like, again, just off the top of your head, you've come up with something that is viable and interesting and has got layers and could play out.
Yeah.
Whereas what they've basically done, the story that they've written is he's running for comptroller.
Please stop saying comptroller. It's such a stupid word. I can't. I literally
actually researched.
Spit my coffee out.
Like
you
a good
do
journalist,
know.
I researched what it is.
Can you tell us in 4 words? Because I really am already bored by the concept of it. Not by you, but by the concept of comptroller.
Before I do that, just to summarise the story, is that he's running for New York City comptroller.
You've said it again.
And he doesn't get New York City comptroller. That is literally what's happened. I'm not even going to call the Ozempic thing any tension, because there was no depth to that.
Yeah, it's like, I've got to be more relatable. I shouldn't be glamping. I shouldn't be eating pasta. I shouldn't be doing this and this and this. None of that's got to do with... And then she's like, you wanted to help people. Did he? He wanted to be this glamorous, thin man of the people, which he isn't. That's all a lie.
I know.
It's all a lie. I never heard him talking about helping people.
No. It's just, I wanted this job. I'm worried about my image.
Yeah,
but nothing really happens. Like... What we're saying is, if she had had this frisson with the editor and it had gotten out, or there's something in his past that was, a bit sort of risque, that could have given the story some tension. It's so easy to have made this better. Every single storyline, it feels like a first draft.
100%. A first draft by a new writer, by someone who's not experienced.
First draft by someone who's doing their GCSE English.
I fear so. You know what? You know how I've been doing themed episodes?
Yes.
And finding a theme? I think we should have had an episode this season, because a lot of this should have happened earlier when literally nothing was happening. There should have been a themed episode called Common Ground. And it should have been like where I still want the voiceover and the themes, it should have been Carrie saying, and I couldn't help wondering, to have a successful romance, do you need common ground? Because she's finding all this common ground with Duncan, working on each other's manuscripts and their mental connection, and she's got nothing in common, she realizes, with Aidan. And then if the same way Lisa's vibing and riffing with Marion because they speak the same language, and Herbert's on about something she doesn't even know, and he's getting image obsessed, and she's like, I don't feel I have anything in common with him anymore. And that way you get Miranda hanging about with Joy's journalist friends and thinking, I'm not in this world, I'm a lawyer, I'm not like, and they're all struggling with something or other that's common ground. And that way, if Brady comes home and says, I've knocked someone up, well, I don't even know anything about her. So you have all of these different themes around what have you got in common. And ultimately, I think the message has to be common ground only works if it sparks you. Because someone could have a totally different job, but you can absolutely, the sexual chemistry is great and the spark is great. But sometimes the common ground creates the spark. So if you're reading my manuscript and finding it hot, and I see that you love it, and then I find that hot, and that escalates and escalates and escalates, that's where your sex appeal is, in that common ground. So we could have had that, and that would have been brilliant. That would have been absolutely brilliant. So I love that idea, Emma.
I love that idea. But again, it's like there isn't any sort of thematic flow to the episodes. They don't have that. Like the old Sex and the City episodes all had a theme.
Such a strong theme.
And I love what you say every week, Deborah, about the voiceover doing the heavy lifting. It's a spot on observation of one of the many things that is wrong with this show. What it did was it tied the theme in it. When you do your rewrite, it brought it all together. And it's like, again, Michael Patrick King's decision, will do anything but bring this bloody voiceover back.
Oh, I know.
I mean, this novel now is supposed to be the voiceover.
And it doesn't work because it's about the woman, and it's not, and also it used to be linking all together. Would you like to hear this week's I Had a Go?
100%.
Okay.
Give it to me, Debs.
All right. So if you're listening at home, this is meant to be Carrie Bradshaw's original monologue for her column, The Couldn't Help Wondering, and then the rest of them are those segues she used to do to thematically bring it together. So you have to imagine those are between the scenes that we know. While Duncan and I were flagging errors in the margins of each other's manuscripts, with me feeling on the brink of yet another misbegotten love affair with a man who had a ticket back to London in his pocket, I couldn't help wondering, is the best we can ever do just try to operate within the margin of error? Meanwhile, the margin of error for sex without a condom is, as Brady discovered, a very small area indeed. And the consequences for that error, as Steve was only too willing to point out, last a lifetime. But Miranda made an error of her own in going to a hair salon without due care and attention to the truth. And Sema realised her life might exist in the margins left over from what Adam Karma Gardens, the gardener's mother, had left behind. So she'd better not make any fatal errors. Oops. On the other side of town, Anthony was facing the fact that Puppetry of the Penis wanted to put his error in Giuseppe's margin. Error? I barely know her. And on the other side of town, Charlotte had made the classic error of bidding on a sign at auction, and now someone grumpy was going to cleanse her energy for $40. If only she could find a margin of time and space in her overcrowded house to do it in. Meanwhile, Lisa's daughter lost her hamster and her husband lost his election to be comptroller, while her mother-in-law, Mother Wexley, turned less into the margin of error and more into the sergeant of terror. All this demonstrating that politicians cannot trust any margin with an error in the title. As for me, I walked away from the error that was Duncan, back upstairs in my fairy tale shoes, knowing that the best part of us was scribbled notes in each other's book margins. And then I thought, what the hell? If when I'm long dead, I want some handsome basement-dwelling biographer to write about me, I'd better give him something to say. And the best things aren't the wise, safe choices, but always the mistakes we make in the borders.
Oh, you see, that makes me it makes me sad because that's what it could be.
It could be. Even with that crappy storyline, all those crappy storylines, if somebody just does that.
You know what I mean? Like, you've just pulled it, like you said, even we wouldn't choose these storylines, but even sticking to those storylines, when it's written well and it's pulled together, hearing
and you've
her
got
thoughts.
The comedy of the puppetry of the penis guy wanting to put his error inside Giuseppe's margin. that's the sort of comedy of Sex and the City that they used to do.
Yeah.
And then the biographer, you've got to give your biographer something to say, and it's always the mistakes that they want to write about. The mistake, what is it? The mistakes we make in the borders.
Yeah.
And it could feel so poignant. What I feel like, not that that's excellent or anything like that, but it's just how quickly I could write that upstairs, just banging that out. Just all I do is look for a theme. But do you know what? I reckon as an exercise, you said heavy lifting before. I reckon we could do this whole thing. We could do one of those with heavy lifting. We really could. You just say, you just pick any theme.
Or like the theme of 3. Obviously, the repeating of the words.
Repeating of 3.
So 3, I don't know, three's
things
the
comes
lucky,
in 3s.
Things comes in 3s. 3 is the lucky number. Something to do with 3 and luck and numbers. That's where my head went.
And then what they would have done with 3 is the hair salon is on 333. Fifth Avenue or 3rd Avenue, the corner of 33rd and 3rd. You have Charlotte having the energy clearer tell her that these things come in 3s, and she thinks, oh my God, I've only had 2 things, and then she realizes what the 3rd thing is. You immediately have
Brady's having triplets.
Oh my God. Adam Karma Gardens, the gardeners. He has 3 plants that represent her body and soul and spirit. And it's the spirit one that she knocks out the window, and she thinks, oh my God, that's the only thing left of her is her spirit. And so on and so on and so on. And you just have the creepy puppeteer with his 3 puppets on the one block of wood.
Yeah.
And he realizes it's Anthony. He's like, what's the 3rd one? And it's revealed. It's the Geppetto. It's Giuseppe. And then he reveals the 3rd one, and it's Anthony. And Anthony is like, fuck, he's made a puppet of me. I'm getting out of here. He's been following him. He's like, I've never met him. How did he know me? And he's been following him on Instagram. And it's a puppet of him with a Hot Fellows bakery. And he's like, this is psychotic. Like, we got to get out of here, baby, and change the locks. All of that, like, just fun.
Yeah.
And then immediately I'm like, you just buy into it a bit more, because you're just seeing something weaving it together. But honestly, play this at home, pick a theme, or notice that. I try and notice something in it.
Yeah.
But pick a theme. Like, I just thought, and honestly, that margin of error was pretty random. I thought, I've got to pick a theme for this week. And I was sort of rewatching it on speed, just sort of cutting through to the scenes, like fast forwarding a bit and going, I'll watch a bit of this. And it was the kid saying, it was in the margin of error. I thought, margin of error, that's an old Sex and the City theme they would have used. They would have said, like, what's the it's interesting. It's a bit sexy. It's a bit like where the error's in the margin, and she's a writer. And, I know that's not what the margin of error means, but that's her whole thing is wordplay, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what are the errors that live in our margins? And of course, that's what she and her writing partner or consultant, they've been helping each other out. What did she say to him? She said 2 lows on the 1 page. Well, that's what you scribble. And so you go, that's an error. I'll take one of the lows out. Now, did you think she was going to end up with Duncan?
Yeah, I thought it felt predictable. So therefore, I thought they would do it. They have revealed on the podcast. I mean,
they do spoilers on it all the time.
Deborah, I'm so glad we're talking about this, because as if this show already had 0 tension, they say, oh yeah, we didn't tell us. They said weeks ago. I'm not worried about Marion and Lisa, because they said weeks ago. No, they're not going to get together. They said there was going to be no affair. You're like, okay, so this a situation that already had not very much tension has now completely removed that. They said last week Aidan wasn't coming back, so if anyone's worried about that happening for the finale, the hand licker. I know I can't really do the hand lick on the podcast, but
I just don't want to know that, because I'm sorry, we're now telling our listeners, but it's so pointless. There's just no tension. So, and it's all out there in the ether, because they've told us the spoilers.
Yeah.
Because so normally everyone's got an NDA and everyone's script has got their name on it, like watermarked.
Yeah.
And that is to stop things like this getting out, because people might be thinking, right, is the last scene going to be her running back to Aidan, or, is it Duncan going to be turn around and...
He's gone back to London, that's it, they've said it.
They've said
it.
I'm quite disappointed, because I thought this is the first time, and I know what you're saying, that he was very grumpy at first. I get that, and you're right. But given where we're at, the fact that she's got a genuinely enjoyable... I've never seen her before. The only writer she's ever dated properly, I think there was a premature ejaculator who wrote short stories. But the only proper writer she's ever dated is Berger, where
Post-it man. Yeah.
and he couldn't handle her success.
Yeah.
Well, this guy loves her success and he's sassing her back. Like, he's like, I've got 5 bestsellers. Well, I've got 7. It's like, yeah, but you've got the plots written for you. It's a real screwball. And then he walks out and he goes, you're right. I have got the plots written for me. What the hell takes me so long? And I'm being distracted off my deadline because I'm working with you and I'm thinking about you and all of that. And I'm like, I would have loved it if he'd said, look, I could stay longer or you could come to London. If she'd said to him, do you know what? I like it like it is. I like you being downstairs for half the year. I like you being in London. I'll fly over, you fly back.
What they could have done there was, because obviously she knows he's going back to London and then she goes down to his, serial killer basement and they have a shag. So what they could have done there was it could have been her being like, I'm okay with this being a casual thing. But if Carrie is discovering casual sex and that she's now fine with it in her 50s, could we not have seen that at the beginning of the season?
I would have loved that. But even now, it doesn't even have to be casual, but like, it'll be like, I would love you to come to London and I'll come back.
He
Well,
told
I
her
would
he was a
love
mess though, Debs, and I did eye roll at that. I thought,
Why is he a mess
Not
though?
another man who's not gone to bloody therapy, Debs.
He's
We don't
not
need
a
more
mess,
of that.
though. He's not a mess. He's not.
But he said he was a mess. He told her he was a mess.
Well, he's not. I mean, he's not a mess.
You love Duncan.
He's
You have got the hots for Duncan, Deborah.
I love Duncan a bit.
You want to suck on Duncan's pipe. Come on.
I am not saying I want to suck on his pipe. I would find the Thatcher biography hard to go. I couldn't give someone notes on a Thatcher biography.
As if you could date Duncan as the guilty feminist and he's writing a biography about Thatcher.
To be fair, he doesn't seem to be. He says it's not his politics. He's sort of slightly mocking of Thatcher, but his job is to find out everything. He's also done one on Churchill. It doesn't mean he agrees with Churchill. It's just
funny that he's done 2 of the most key conservative figures of the 20th century, Deborah, just saying.
Don't. Oh, come on, don't.
You are defending Duncan now.
Am.
You love him.
I think he's the best one for her. And I just wish they'd given him a sexier.
Carrie is the best one for Carrie. And I think that's what's going to happen.
She should be doing Dorothy Parker so that, or somebody like that. Because,
yeah.
And she'd be like, why is a man writing about Dorothy Parker? And he's like, oh, she's my great-great aunt and, la, 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 or whatever it is. I think there should be some link, or my great-grandmother was her best friend, or, something. And we've got all the files and, I'm a famous biography, so they asked me to do it. I feel like it should have been somebody really sexy and witty and Carrie Bradshaw-like.
Yeah.
He should have been like, you are Dorothy Parker. How has this happened? I'm running about Dorothy Parker and I'm living underneath her. That kind of thing. That would have been sexy as fuck.
Like if he'd been doing it about a literary figure and there was comparisons between the literary figure and Carrie, that again, that would have been gorgeous.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to know the meeting where they decided that he'd be writing a Margaret Thatcher biography. Of all the people. That he could have been writing.
All the fucking people. My ideal ending is she becomes, look, let's be honest, I'm married to New York City and I always have been. And I've never been happier with any man than I have swapping manuscripts with you. And I would love to swap manuscripts forever. And when you're here, you're here. When you're there. Maybe I'll be there. Maybe you'll be here. But I have fun with you. I get you. You're the first man I've ever taken my heels off for. Like, that would be sexy. I'm going to write my own fanfic last episode. I'm that desperate for it to go my way. And I'm sorry, I'm coming out with it. I love Duncan.
I know you love Duncan. It's not even a secret, Deborah. I mean, you're making no secret of the fact.
You love
he's
Duncan. Cute. And he's
you want to do Duncan. Were you disappointed we didn't get to see the shagging?
Yes, of course.
Same, because come on, they immediately cut to a post-coital scene.
But I heard one of the writers on the Writers' Room podcast saying they were annoyed because they said I wasn't at the filming, and I was like, where was the sex? And he went, no, we don't need to see that anymore. And I'm like,
because obviously SJP's got in a contract. She does no nudity. That's clearly what's happening.
She doesn't have to be naked. You can just be, at least show us the kissing, the moment, the kind of like the banter between them, the writer banter between them.
Yeah.
You never need, I don't need to see her writhing on top of him or anything like that, but just sort of like the sexy part, the old
Hollywood
Hollywood.
with the slippers or something. Do you know what I mean?
The old Hollywood part. that they used to show us.
Yeah.
You know, Deborah Carr and Cary Grant. They didn't show us everything, but they showed them falling onto the chaise longue, one foot on the floor rule then.
Yeah.
Or he could have been running a biography about someone in the golden age of Hollywood, and they could have been talking about the Hays Code. That would have been sexy. Okay, this is my last episode, and I'm going to write it up as fanfic. I don't really have time, but I'll write it fast. I might make one more episode of this where we have a writer's room and we record the writer's room where we're coming up with the plot lines, and then everyone has to script a scene, and then we come back and do a table read of the scene.
Yeah.
They might sue us, but it's over. They're not going to sue us, are they? It's homage fan fiction. I think they'd be fine.
Listen, and just like that, it should be thanking us all, Deborah.
For our homage. But
we have elevated this show with our content and our podcasts and our
suggestions,
our
alternative
yapping.
timelines.
You know, they should be thanking us. Quite frankly, this is a success because of the hate and the hope.
Okay, all right. I'm going to do a fanfic script. My hope is that I can have what I wanted for the end of the Sex and the City proper series. Big comes and says, "You're the one," in Paris. And then she says, "That's great, but New York's the one for me." And she goes back and she lives her life in New York, and she divests herself for a while of men. And she lives her single life, and she lives her best life. And she writes the greatest book about her love affair with New York. Then you're owed a movie, because the movie is Big comes back and says, "I can't live without you." And she has spent X years between the show and the movie finding out who she is. And he changes enough. Because turning up in Paris and going abso-fucking-lutely, I mean, is not enough given what he put her through. And she needed to say, no, this is my terms. And I feel we should have ended it on her married to New York. And I also feel like this needs to end with her setting the terms with this guy and saying, "You're a mess, I'm a mess, New York's a mess. We embrace the mess. That's what humanity is." That's what I want. I want her to choose romance, not to choose domesticity. So that's what I'm going to be fighting the corner for in the writer's room. And we'll read out a table read of a script with actors who can do good American accents and terrible British ones. I mean, what is it with the way that they have British people like her? Like, Duncan's fine, but the woman who played his wife.
Oh, you're so bad.
If she's British, she's been told to ham it up.
Yeah.
I mean, she may well be British, but they always get either fake British actors or British actors, and they go, "Because you sound posher. Can you sound?" Nobody talks like this anymore, and it's just people. But Duncan speaks like a posh Londoner, but like a Londoner.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you wouldn't think,
but
my
like,
God, why are you speaking like that? But his wife talked like this.
It's like their only impression of British people is like Downton Abbey. Like,
it's very, her friends. Oh, Grace was riffing on her friends last week. Do you remember Joy's terrible media friends?
Oh, they were awful.
And she's like, "Is that what they think British people are like?" Because we would move pubs to avoid them.
No, it's like, have you met a British person? And there's actually so many British people in this, Debs. So we've got
Joy,
him,
we've got that
Joy.
Both Miranda and Carrie are both seeing Brits.
Yeah, and then Joy's friends, and then obviously his wife is British. You know, the wife could have conceivably been American. So it's been so many Brits in this. And you know, it's kind of like they're all like, "Tally-ho, what-oh, you're
it's
so
like
bad."
Rivals, isn't it? But the Rivals is set in the 80s, and people did talk like that in the 80s. Posh people did talk like that in the 80s. If you go back and hear clips of people, they did. But no one talks like that now.
Yeah. You just wonder what kind of lives they live. I mean, never mind British people. I actually wonder if they've met people, Deborah. Sometimes I'm like, have they met actual people?
Have they met people? Or Michael Patrick King maybe has spent too much time with the puppets.
Christ knows what he's doing with the puppets. Michael Patrick King. So, you know, when Anthony and Giuseppe had to move out because someone in the building had hammered a nail into the gas line, trying to put up their flat screen TV. That was a real anecdote.
Yes.
We always say this is more anecdotes than stories, right? That's a real anecdote from Michael Patrick King's life, which he said on the Writers' Podcast. He'd been trying to get into the show for several seasons.
Why?
He was just like, that's not even interesting. It's not even that interesting a story in the pub.
So I've got the Easter egg game. In this week's episode, Anthony was startled to find at his boyfriend's house someone was making a creepy puppet and brought it into the bedroom while they were having sex. When have we seen a Sex and the City character in the original Sex and the City startled by not a puppet, but something like a puppet? in a sexual encounter?
It was the dolls. The
Yes.
dolls on the bed.
Valley of the Dolls.
Like a
yes.
lot of dolls.
Yes.
Oh, Stanford.
Stanford.
He had a hookup with someone and they had like creepy dolls all over their bed.
Yes, and they had to be taken off very gently. And at one point, in a moment of passion, he threw a doll off the bed and they all had names and the man kicked him out, I think. In this week's episode, Miranda, incognito, goes to see somebody. This is normally something Carrie would do. When, early on in Sex and the City, did Carrie go to see somebody under a guise, under a ruse, and not tell them who she was?
Not tell them who she was. Because I was thinking of the time that she went to the church when Big was with his mum, not that one.
No. She was going as herself. When did she go? And this person was someone she wanted to investigate, but she didn't want to tell that person, and she never did tell that person who she was, but that person figured it out and we heard that back.
Oh no, I need another clue.
So she became a bit obsessed with somebody else. She needed to know about them, so she went and she had a meeting with them. She went there under the guise of being a writer, which she is, and said she wanted to pitch them a book. And this is a double Easter egg.
It was Big's wife.
Yes,
Big's wife.
Because Big's wife was?
She was an agent. No,
she was a.
Because they sat in a restaurant. She wanted to see what Big's ex-wife was like.
Yes. And Big's wife was, in fact, I think, a publisher. And what is Duncan's ex-wife?
A publisher.
So this is a double Easter egg.
Oh.
So
well spotted, Debs. I didn't spot that.
So she went there and pitched a book that turned out to be incredibly inappropriate. Why was it incredibly inappropriate?
Oh, stop it. He's really testing my ADHD now with this memory.
She said, I'm a big fan of your writing. What's the book you want to write?
Oh, wasn't it a children's book? But it was like an inappropriate children's book.
It was about little Kathy and her magic what?
No, stop it. A magic bean?
No, she looks down into her handbag and sees something.
Wasn't it like something like drugs or
cigarettes? Her magic cigarettes. She smokes the cigarette and then she travels to another place and time. And Big's ex-wife is looking at her like, magic cigarettes? So it's like, this is for children. And she goes, oh, I get it. It's for children, but it's really for grown-ups, like a kid's book for grown-ups.
Yeah.
And she goes, I really like it. And then in the voiceover, she goes, damn it. And she gets me. So this is now the second big love that she's had, because I think she has got a big love with Duncan, even if it's not.
Oh, you are so on the Duncan train, Deborah.
I am on a one-way ticket to Duncantown.
You are not getting off that Duncan train.
So she's got a one-way ticket to Duncantown, and her two ex-wives who are publishers. So she went in and she never told her who she was, but then Big says to her, so you met my ex-wife. She told me she liked you. So he knows what she's done. She never really gets, no one ever says you shouldn't have done that. She just gets away with it. But the ex-wife clearly knows. In this week's episode, there is a kind of really implausibly gross, slightly insulting to pregnant women, I think, scene where I really didn't like it, but every listener of mine knows I don't like scatology. So the pregnant young woman who's washing Miranda's hair is passing wind.
Oh, don't.
But really ostentatiously, like, I am sure,
you told it in.
Pregnant women, or they move away, or they go, I'm really sorry, if it was accident. But she was just sort of really going for it, very, very oddly, and then not moving away, sort of saying, oh, sorry, I'm pregnant, I can't help it. But also in the salon, because she walks away and does it again, and in the salon they're all going, oh, don't do that. But you would be fired if you were doing that so strangely ostentatiously. Why is this an Easter egg for Miranda?
Because Miranda had wind when she was pregnant. Mm-hmm. Now, two bonkers things about this, Debs. Firstly, Samantha Irby admitted in the Writers' Room podcast that she wanted to get fart jokes into the show. Mm-hmm. She said that out loud. Mm-hmm. Call me crazy, but I think fart jokes are more sort of like 5-year-old humour.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I don't think farts are funny.
Bro humour, like Seth Rogen type,
it's
stoner movie humour. It's not why they've forgotten why we tune into Sex and the City.
Yeah.
And it's not that there hasn't been that material before. Like, there was a kind of seminal episode where Carrie accidentally did that in bed and she was mortified and her friends were going to her, but you're a human being. And she's like, no, I want to keep it sexy and romantic. And they're like, well, it's got to be, you've got to, you'd be a real human being. And I've heard SJP say she really thought, I don't want to do this. And she said to her agent, should I do this? Her agent said, you've got to do it because this is
real.
What this show's about is that, first time maybe that you do that in front of a partner, and if they tease you about it, and what are you going to say and all of that sort of stuff. So they have dealt with this kind of material. Or when Miranda was like, it was obviously very, very accidental and was like, I'm so sorry, it's a side effect of pregnancy. But it wasn't. It was just sort of, again, dealing with that real stuff. It wasn't like her deliberately doing it. It was very, very odd.
And why did Miranda say to her, oh, I understand that, I was the same? Just some line like that, there was no tie-in again?
No, if she'd said that happened to me.
Yeah, you think she would have said, oh, honey, I get it, I was the same.
When she did it, she was like, oh my God, I'm mortified. And it was clearly she was trying not to. And I think if the same thing had happened and she'd said, oh my God, it reminds me of when I was pregnant, there'd be a real moment where Miranda would be looking at her like, I wish it would have been, that reminds me of when I was pregnant. I think with the father of this child. And she'd be like, what? And if that's how she'd told her, I would think there's a point to this scene. Charlotte goes for an alternative therapy this week. When have we seen Charlotte go for alternative therapies before? Or kind of, are these offbeat, slightly hippie things?
No, actually, I thought about this and I was going to put this in my recap. She had acupuncture when she was trying to get pregnant with
and
Trey.
Drinking teas and
also the noises in Easter egg as well, because I always remember this line. So she's basically lying in the treatment room getting the acupuncture, and there's all the beep, 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 meh, 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 crazy noise of New York, the constant beeping. And she's getting frustrated and annoyed. And the practitioner says to her,
tune it out.
Honey, you can't turn off New York. Something like you've got to turn off the internal noise.
Tune it out. And then she learns to do that. She runs into Bitsy von Miffling and she's blah 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 about the acupuncture because she's pregnant, and she just tunes it out.
Exactly. So actually the noise and the alternative therapy was a double Easter egg.
Great. What other alternative workshop did she make everybody go to that was quite offbeat?
Oh, it was a yoni workshop where it was about orgasming and masturbation. And well, this was a pie in the face, as they love to say for this show, a pie in the face. Was it Charlotte got a load of jizz in her face?
No,
Miranda.
It was Miranda.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Miranda.
Yeah. Ended up with the guy's ejaculate all over her face.
A tantric sex workshop.
Yes, tantric sex. That's it.
In this episode, Carrie was in her big walk-in wardrobe or closet with a man. He had one shoe and they were having a moment. He was making a big deal of one shoe. When have we seen Carrie in a closet, in a walk-in wardrobe with a man before, and another sparkly shoe became a moment between them?
Well, it was her and Big.
Yes.
In their new place.
Yes, that they never lived in.
Yes, that they never lived in. And, was it when they got back together and he proposed to her?
Yes.
Yes.
And he said, the problem is the way I proposed before, it was in the movie.
Yes.
The way I proposed before wasn't romantic. He got down on one knee, made it romantic, and then said, this is why you need a diamond to seal the deal. And then so he picked up, there's only one pair of shoes that she'd left there, Manolo Blahniks, that had a diamond buckle on them.
Yeah.
And he put that on her foot as a diamond ring, which is very Carrie Bradshaw. When has a dead mother haunted a relationship before?
Ooh.
Made a relationship untenable.
I can think of plenty of alive mothers that caused problems. Ooh.
But she said, so one of the lead characters says, that's fine, I'm great with mothers. And he says, not this one. She's dead. And I promised her something. I promised her I would marry a specific sort of person.
Oh, so it was Harry's mum. That's why she had to convert. Charlotte had to convert to Judaism.
Yes.
But then didn't they make a mistake with that when the mum was then alive again?
I'm sorry to tell you, yes, they did. So the original, the relationship haunted by, they overshadowed
he was like,
by
you
someone.
must be Jewish for us to marry. Yeah.
Exactly. My mother made me promise I'd marry someone Jewish.
Yeah.
And she says, that's fine, I'll get around the mother. Now, that was in what year? Do you guess?
Oh my God, you're really testing me now, Deborah. What were the years? Because it was 7 subsequent years for the.
Yeah, it was early noughties.
Okay, let's go for 2001.
2002, very close.
Oh, okay.
So she's been dead for 23 years, and just like that, Harry says,
no.
Last year, in 2024, my mum died 10 years ago.
Oh my God.
In 2014, Emma. Welsh Emma LDN. Emma Smith, do you have anything to plug?
Oh, I do. I was so hoping you were going to ask me that, Deborah. So I have got my live comedy cabaret show coming up. I'd love you to come, actually, Deborah. 19th of September at the legendary Phoenix Arts Club in Soho, London. And it's called Holding Out for a Hero. And it is a sort of comedy cabaret take on the bin fire that is modern dating. And there's kind of singing, dancing, stand-up, storytelling. It's very fun, very dirty, very camp. And I've got a discount code for Guilty Feminist listeners if they want to get a ticket.
Yes, please.
Yes. So if you go onto the Phoenix Arts website and you put the code Guilty Feminist in for the next week, you can get 15% off tickets.
Great.
So yeah, it'd be great to see some of you there. I know you would love it. It's a romp, and
so it's basically what And Just Like That should be.
Yes, exactly.
The cabaret version of dating right now as a woman who's just turned 50, who is having it all in a big city. So it's basically Sex and the City, but a cabaret. And the city is London, not New York.
Exactly. It's going to give you the filth and the lols that And Just Like That hasn't.
Excellent. And it's cabaret, so there's singing?
There is. I do one song. I rework a Sound of Music song, you know, as I said, camp.
Excellent.
And there's a lot of lip syncing, which is a homage to my 5 seasons of Drag Race that I worked on.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And you worked on Drag Race?
5 seasons.
Amazing.
I was the casting exec for 5 seasons on Drag Race.
Wow.
Yeah, UK Drag Race.
Wow.
Yeah.
And will any Drag Race contestants be joining you on stage at any point?
Well,
Not-
they may be in the audience.
Excellent.
I could try and shoe in a guest appearance.
And yeah.
I'm the drag queen, Debs. That's what it is.
Excellent.
I'm the drag
I
queen.
hope as this show develops and grows, or you do another show, we sometimes see a spot for a special guest star. And I do hope that at some point in this show, if I come, there is a mention of Duncan. That's all I ask.
I will.
If you could just drop in, I know cabaret is usually very free flowing. So if I'm in the audience, if you could just drop in some love for Duncan.
I will. What about if we actually try and get Duncan there? He is British.
Listen, if you can get Duncan there is no question I will move heaven and earth.
Jonathan Cake.
Jonathan Cake.
What a great
Even
name.
His name is sweet.
I know.
Listen, Jonathan Cake, if you're listening.
Delicious. Deborah wants to eat you and your cake.
Hey, listen. Oh, I didn't say that, but I would lick the icing. Now,
just the tip.
give Welsh Emma LDN a follow on Instagram and or TikTok.
Yes.
And go and check out her cabaret show. You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist Watchers, and Just Like That with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Welsh Emma LDN. That's Emma Smith to you. The producer for The Spontaneity Shop was Thomas Alinsky. The Guilty Feminist is part of the Acast Creator Network, and Just Like That is on Max in the United States and Sky Comedy and now in the UK. See you next week for episode 11. We're still watching, so we're part of the problem.